In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at what are known as the logical operators. These are sometimes also called Boolean operators, and they have the names and or. Those are the two operators we're going to be looking at. In order to discuss these operators, I'm actually going to use an example that we did in a previous tutorial dealing with nested conditional statements. And in that tutorial, we were looking at voting conditions. And I'm going to focus on two of those voting conditions, which were they were age and they were citizenship. So let's go ahead. We're going to start off by creating a couple of variables. Var age, which is an int, var citizen, which is a string. And I'm actually going to use, for my citizenship answer, I'm just going to ask a yes or no question. And that'll make it a little bit easier than entering the full citizenship of the country. So the things we want to know, put what is your age, and we will get age from that. Put are you a Canadian citizen? And that's going to be, and I want to specify yes, no, that's going to be a yes, no answer. And from there I'm going to get citizen. So keep that in mind. My yes, no, if the person is a Canadian citizen, they're going to be saying yes. If they're not a Canadian citizen, they're going to say no. So what are our criteria for voting conditions? Age, and actually maybe I'll even be more specific here. Age must be greater than or equal to 18. And the citizenship has to be Canadian, or actually is going to have to be yes. So in a previous example, the way I showed you how to do this was using what's known as a nested if then else statement. So I said something along the lines of, if age is greater than or equal to 18, then, and I'm actually going to show I'm going to write these separately and then combine them. Put you can vote, else put you cannot vote, and if. I'm just going to clean that up. If citizen equals yes, then put you can vote, else put you cannot vote, and if. And clean that up with some formatting. And now we have to somehow combine these, because as the program stands right now, being 18 on its own is not enough, and being a citizen on its own is not enough. It has to be a combination of these. And so in that previous tutorial, I actually took one of my if statements and I nested it inside another if statement. So I did something like this. If the person's age is greater than or equal to 18, then I check if the person's a citizen, and only if both of those conditions are met do I say you can vote. Otherwise, I say you cannot vote. And what if the person's not 18? Well, then we also have to say you cannot vote. And I end up with this awkward structure. I have to include the words you cannot vote in two different locations. It's already kind of messy, and this is a fairly simple example. So what I want to do is I want to duplicate that structure, and I want to do it using one of these two operators, and or. So I'm going to show you the correct one to use here if we think about it. Age greater than or equal to 18, citizenship, we need to have both of those conditions at the same time. So you can't vote if you're only one of these two things. So the way we take care of that is using the and condition. If age greater than or equal to 18 and citizen equals yes, then. And so you can see my condition is now much longer. I'll put it in brackets to make it clear. So here's the condition I'm checking. I'm checking both of these things. I'm separating them with an and that's basically saying you have to satisfy both of these conditions in order to be able to vote. So if you do satisfy both of these conditions, put you can vote, else put you cannot vote, and if. Now if you take a look at this structure, versus the more complicated nested structure, using these Boolean operators, in this case I'm using AND, that makes things much easier. I end up with a much cleaner structure. So I'm going to get rid of that one. That's very bulky. And let's go ahead and run this and see if it works. So it asks, what is your age? And I enter 21. Are you a Canadian citizen? I enter yes. And it says you can vote. Now whenever we're dealing with a situation like this, whenever we're using selection to make decisions, we want to make sure we test all the possibilities. So I'm going to run that again. I'm just going to add a little bit of a space there. Let's run that again. What is your age? Now I'm going to say 21, but no. You cannot vote. That is a correct result. Now what if I say I'm only 16, but yes, I'm a Canadian citizen? You still cannot vote. And then finally, what is your age? And let's say I'm 16 and I'm not a Canadian citizen, so neither of those criteria is good enough for voting, and I still cannot vote. So you can see that with all those combinations, there were 4 combinations. Out of that, only one combination can satisfy both of these criteria at the same time. And that is because we used the AND combination for this. What if I change this? What if the criteria for voting were that your age is greater than or equal to 18 or your citizenship was Canadian? Well, what does that mean? That would mean that if you're 18 or over, it doesn't matter what your citizenship is. You can vote no matter what. Or it also means that if you're a citizen, even if you're a minor, even if you're under the age of 18, you could still vote. That's what or means. Or means you can choose between one and the other. And so again, if I run this in its current form, what is your age? As soon as I say that I'm the age of majority, so I'm over 18, then 21, are you a Canadian citizen? If I say yes or no here, I can still vote because I'm old enough. If I run it and I say I'm only 16, but I am a Canadian citizen, yes, I can still vote. And if I say 16 years old, no, I'm not a citizen, well, in this case, I'm failing both of those criteria, so I cannot vote. So there is still a way that I won't be able to vote. It's harder to get to. So there's a summary and a little bit of a simple example of using and or. Let's return this just as we finish this tutorial. Let's remember to put that in the correct form. So when I'm combining multiple criteria, if I use and to combine them, that means I'm requiring all of those criteria. If I use or to combine them, that means I'm happy to have any one of these criteria be met. So keep that in mind, experiment with that, try some different combinations of your own. And also, you don't have to restrict it. Your conditions can be longer than just 2 elements. You can have 3, 4, 5 different conditions in your selection statement. So good luck with that, and I will be doing another tutorial on a more advanced version of this sometime in the future.